Standing up, I said, "I have a toast." My heart was beating fast. Terry's smile dropped as I reached into my bag and pulled out a small speaker. Before we celebrate Terry's vision, I think we should listen to how the Johnson Tower design really happened. Terry's face turned white when I pressed play, and his voice came out of the speaker. "Samantha, I don't understand any of this. You need to explain your glass wall system to me again." Finally, he was about to get what he deserved. Let me go back 6 months to explain what happened. My name is Samantha Ellis. This is how I almost lost everything, and then won it all back with one press of a button. The Johnson Tower project was supposed to be my big break. It was a $147 million job to turn an old, ugly office building into a beautiful green landmark in downtown Boston. When our company won the project, our CEO Miranda Wallace picked me to lead the design team, saying, "Your ideas about green buildings and cities are exactly what this project needs." Her gray eyes looking right at me with real approval. I felt so proud I could hardly breathe. After 7 years of hard work at Horizon Architectural Associates, this was my chance to shine. I had spent those years climbing up the ladder, working 60-hour weeks and giving up weekends, holidays, even relationships, all to prove myself in a business where people still raise eyebrows when women lead big projects. After getting top marks at MIT with a master's degree in green building design, I quickly learned that talent and hard work weren't always enough. Not in a field where men often see a confident woman as aggressive and a woman who speaks up as difficult. It's common enough, so maybe you too have experienced something like that before. That night after Miranda told me the news, I called my parents in Chicago. My dad, an engineer who had worked his way up from nothing, was so proud his voice cracked. "My brilliant girl, we always knew you would break through." My mom grabbed the phone, asking for all the details while planning a celebration dinner for my next visit home. I fell asleep that night thinking about blueprints, already seeing how I could change the ugly 1980s building into something beautiful that would fit perfectly in the Boston skyline. In my dreams, I stood on a stage accepting an award, my name becoming part of architectural history. I should have known Terry Brooks would try to ruin it. The morning after I got the project, I came in early as usual, with a triple-shot coffee and lots of ideas. My small but great team, 2 junior architects, an environmental systems expert, and a structural engineer, had already texted me, excited to start the kickoff meeting. I was putting concept sketches on the table in the small conference room when Terry appeared in the doorway. At 45, he was handsome in that polished, expensive suit way that showed he came from money and had connections. His salt and pepper hair was perfectly styled, and his smile never reached his eyes. "Congratulations on the Johnson job," he said, leaning against my desk in a way that felt like he was invading my space. "It's a big responsibility. Lucky for you, I'll be watching over everything personally." My stomach dropped, but I kept my face calm. "Thanks, but I've handled projects this big before," I replied, thinking of the Anderson Museum renovation last year that I brought in under budget with design elements that got featured in Architectural Digest. Terry had barely looked at that project until the magazine wrote about it. He laughed in a way that felt both dismissive and threatening. "Not like this one, Samantha. The Johnson project is political. Board members are watching. You'll need guidance on the vision, my guidance." That's when I knew exactly what was coming. I'd seen it happen to Sophia in urban planning and Amara in commercial design. They would do the work, Terry would refine it, and somehow his name would become bigger while theirs faded to minor helpers. 3 years ago, Sophia Rodriguez had created an innovative neighborhood improvement plan for the Dorchester area. What made her design special was how it updated old buildings while keeping the neighborhood's character, making sure regular people weren't priced out of their homes. I remember how excited she was explaining her ideas, especially when talking about how good architecture could help communities stay strong while still bringing in new business. 2 months later, Terry presented his neighborhood plan to city officials. Sophia sat quietly in the back of the room as he explained his approach to preserving neighborhoods. The next week, she quietly cleaned out her desk after 5 years with the firm. When I asked her why she was leaving, her eyes looked hollow, like someone had emptied her from the inside. "You'll understand someday, Samantha," was all she said. "Just watch your back." Then last year, it was Amara Johnson's turn. Her energy-saving building design for the Riverside Office Park had won the firm a major client. She created a brilliant system using natural sunlight, rooftop gardens, and smart airflow, combining traditional building wisdom from her childhood in Kenya with cutting-edge technology she'd studied in Norway. During the client presentation, Terry kept interrupting her. "What Amara is trying to explain," he would say, before repeating her exact point in slightly different words. By the third phase of the project, all client communications went through Terry. When the project won a sustainability award, Terry accepted it alone. Amara quit 2 weeks later. I ran into her at a conference in New York 6 months ago. Over drinks, she finally told me the truth. He would call me at night, asking me to explain details of my design, she said, swirling her wine. Then in meetings the next day, he would present my explanations like they were his ideas. When I confronted him, he said I was being emotional and difficult to work with. HR suggested I might be happier in a different department. Her words sent a chill through me. "Why didn't you fight it?" Amara gave me a tired smile. "Fight what? His word against mine? His 15 years at the firm against my 3? His golf games with the board members against my... What?" She shook her head. "I needed references, Samantha. I needed to eat." Both talented women eventually left the firm, their innovations credited to a man who barely understood them. I had promised myself it wouldn't happen to me. So that night after Terry's congratulations, I made a decision. I opened my laptop and ordered a high-quality voice recorder and a recording app subscription for my phone. If every conversation was documented, there could be no question about whose ideas were whose. For the next 4 months, I poured everything into the Johnson Tower redesign. The challenge was exciting, transforming an ugly, energy-wasting 1980s office building into a modern green landmark while keeping its recognizable shape on the Boston skyline. I created a special double-layered glass exterior system that would cut energy bills by 62% while making the building look beautiful. My team of 5 worked so hard. Ramon, fresh out of graduate school with amazing computer skills, created programs that would help the building automatically adjust to changing sunlight throughout the year. Una figured out how to attach our new systems to the old building's frame without making it unsafe. Taylor and Devi redesigned the inside spaces, transforming rigid cubicle layouts into flexible, open areas that could change as work habits evolved. I made sure to document everything we did. Every meeting with Terry was recorded, starting with my standard opener. "I'm recording this for my notes, if that's okay." He always nodded absently, too busy scrolling through his phone or laptop to really pay attention. At first, the meetings followed a predictable pattern. "Walk me through what you're thinking," Terry would say, feet up on the conference table, barely glancing at my presentation materials. I would explain each design element in detail, how we calculated the best window angles for natural lighting, the rainwater collection system hidden within the building's design features, and the community spaces that would change how people interacted with the building. "It's interesting," he would respond in a tone that suggested it was anything but. "But where's the vision? The board wants something impressive, something that makes a statement." Then he would offer vague suggestions, make it more dynamic, or "it needs something iconic," without any specific direction. In the beginning, I tried implementing his feedback, only to have him dismiss those changes at our next meeting. After one particularly frustrating session, I stayed late in the office, staring at renderings that represented weeks of work. The empty office felt huge around me, the silence broken only by the hum of the air conditioning system. I was exhausted, discouraged, and beginning to question my own abilities. My phone buzzed with a text from my roommate Gia. "Working late again? I'm ordering Thai. Want some?" I smiled at her thoughtfulness. Gia, a corporate attorney specializing in intellectual property, had become my closest friend since we started sharing an apartment 2 years ago. She understood ambition, pressure, and workplace politics better than anyone I knew. "Yes, please, the usual. And maybe wine? Already on it, hang in there." Back home later that night, surrounded by empty Thai food containers, I told Gia all my frustrations. I played her some of the recordings I'd been making. Her eyes widened as she listened. "Samantha, this is textbook intellectual theft. He's systematically taking your ideas while creating a paper trail of criticism." "I know," I sighed, refilling our wine glasses. "I've watched him do it before, but what can I do? If I go to HR, it's my word against his. Not anymore, Gia said, tapping my phone. Now you have evidence. Keep documenting everything. Create transcripts, note dates, times, who else was present. If he makes his move, you'll be ready. Her confidence boosted mine. I wasn't powerless this time. I was prepared. By week 6 of the project, Terry's attitude changed. He began asking more questions, suddenly interested in specific parts of my design. Tell me more about this glass wall system, he said during one Thursday afternoon meeting, leaning forward to study the drawings I'd developed. I explained how it worked, basically a building with 2 layers of glass walls with space between them, like a coffee thermos. The outer layer would block summer heat but capture winter warmth, while the gap between walls would create natural airflow. I showed him how this would slash energy costs while making the building more comfortable year-round. That's actually quite impressive, Terry admitted, studying the drawings closer. Send me all the technical details and your notes on this. My heart sank as I recognized the familiar signs. He was mining my work for ideas he could claim. From that point on, I noticed him taking more detailed notes during our meetings, asking pointed questions about the most innovative aspects of the design. One evening, working late again, I stepped into the hallway to take a call from my mother. When I returned, I caught Terry at my computer, scrolling through my project files. He jumped slightly when he saw me. "Just checking on your progress," he said smoothly. "The computer models are looking good." I nodded, feeling sick to my stomach, and waited until he left before checking my file access logs. He had copied several key design documents. That night, I started backing up everything to my personal secure cloud storage. Around this time, I also received an unexpected email from Sophia, my former colleague. "Samantha, I heard you're leading the Johnson Tower project. Congratulations. I also heard Terry is overseeing your work. I've been debating whether to write this email for weeks. I wish someone had warned me, so I'm warning you." After I left Horizon, 3 other women reached out to me describing similar experiences with Terry. 1 from before my time, 2 after. Always the same pattern. Always women, always talented designers with innovative ideas. Always the same result. He takes credit. We get sidelined. I've attached a list of names. Perhaps it's time we compared notes. Take care, Sophia. The list contained 5 names, including Amara's and Sophia's. I recognized 2 others. Bright, creative women who had left the firm after brief but promising careers. The 5th name was unfamiliar to me. I contacted each woman, and the stories were eerily similar. The 5th name belonged to Lauren Reed, who had left 4 years before I joined. Now a successful principal at her own firm in Seattle, she was the most blunt. "Terry doesn't just steal ideas, he steals careers," she told me during our video call. "He specifically targets women who threaten him. He waits until they've done all the innovative heavy lifting, then swoops in to claim their work. When I confronted him, he told me no one would believe me over him. The next day, I was reassigned to toilet detail for medical office buildings." Her words rang in my ears as the Johnson project moved forward. 3 months in, we had our first presentation to the board scheduled. I spent weeks preparing, creating detailed renderings and a comprehensive presentation outlining the sustainability features, cost savings, and community benefits of my design. The day before the presentation, Terry called me into his office. "Good work getting everything ready for tomorrow," he said, leaning back in his leather chair. "I'll take it from here." I felt my face flush, heat rising from my collar despite my determination to stay calm. "What do you mean? I'm leading this project. I should be presenting." "Samantha," he sighed, as if explaining something to a child. "Board presentations are executive territory. You know that. Besides, some of these board members are traditional. They'll respond better to me." Traditional? We both knew what that meant. "The design is mine," I insisted, my voice steady despite my racing heart. "I should be there to answer questions about the technical aspects at minimum." "You'll be there," he said, waving his hand dismissively. "In the background, available for technical questions if needed, but I need to establish project leadership with the board." I felt something tear inside me. Not my resolve, but the last thread of professional respect I'd been clinging to. In that moment, Terry Brooks stopped being my department head and became my opponent in a game I hadn't agreed to play. "Fine," I said, standing up. "I'll have the final presentation package on your desk by 6 p.m. "That's my girl," he said with a condescending smile. I left his office that day with my fists clenched so tight my nails cut into my palms. That night, I barely slept, going back through 4 months of recordings, making notes of every instance where Terry had questioned my ideas only to later speak about them as if they were obvious solutions. The board presentation went exactly as I'd feared. I sat silently at the far end of the table while Terry presented my entire design as his vision. He used my exact language in places, phrases I'd carefully crafted about harmonizing urban renewal with historical preservation and creating vertical communities within the vertical space. The innovative double-skin facade system I've developed will revolutionize how the building performs, he said confidently, displaying the technical diagrams my team had spent weeks perfecting. I watched the board members nod appreciatively, clearly impressed. Miranda Wallace, our CEO, studied the energy performance metrics with particular interest. "These efficiency numbers are remarkable, Terry," she said. "How did you overcome the issues we discussed initially?" Before I could speak up, Terry smoothly responded, "It was a matter of recalculating the models with a different approach," he said, going into details but describing my approach, my calculations, my solutions. My team exchanged glances, their faces showing confusion and increasing anger as Terry continued to claim our collective work as his own innovation. Ramon started to speak up at one point, but I subtly shook my head. This wasn't the time. After the presentation, the board unanimously approved moving forward with Terry's design. I stood in the corner watching as they congratulated him, rage and disappointment burning a hole in my stomach. Samantha did contribute some useful technical drawings, Terry added as an afterthought, nodding in my direction without making eye contact. That evening, I sat alone in my apartment surrounded by project notes, renderings, and concept sketches. 7 years at the firm, countless successful projects, and now this. I played back the recordings from our meetings, listening to my own voice explaining concepts that Terry had presented as his own just hours earlier. I thought about my parents' sacrifices to put me through school, about the young women in my field who looked up to me, about Sophia and Amara and all the others whose careers had been damaged. Something inside me shifted. The careful, cautious architect who documented everything had gathered enough evidence. Now it was time to use it. The next morning I was called into Miranda's office. Terry was already there, looking smugly comfortable in one of her visitor chairs. "Samantha, good morning," Miranda said briskly. "I wanted to discuss the Johnson project with both of you. The board was extremely impressed yesterday." "They should be," I said quietly. "It's an innovative design." Miranda nodded. "Indeed, which is why we've made a decision. Terry will be promoted to Executive Director of Design Innovation, effective immediately. He'll be overseeing all our major projects going forward with a substantial raise and profit sharing." I felt the blood drain from my face as Terry smiled. The title, Executive Director of Design Innovation, felt like a mockery. Innovation he had stolen. Designs he had claimed. The injustice of it burned in my throat. "And Samantha," Miranda continued, "you'll continue as Senior Design Architect supporting Terry on the Johnson implementation. Your technical skills are valuable to the project's execution." Supporting Terry. After he had stolen my design, my innovation, my vision. The phrase echoed in my mind, each repetition stoking a fire that had been building for months. I thought about Sophia being relegated to support roles until she left, about Amara being praised for her technical skills, while Terry claimed her visionary thinking. "Is there anything you'd like to add, Samantha?" Miranda asked, noticing my silence. I looked directly at Terry, who had the faintest smirk playing at the corner of his mouth. I wanted to unleash everything right then, play the recordings, show the evidence, expose him for the fraud he was. But Gia's legal advice rang in my ears. Timing is everything. "Not at this time," I said carefully. "I'd like some time to process this new structure." "Of course," Miranda replied. "We're announcing Terry's promotion at the company dinner this Friday. I expect both of you to be there." I spent the next 3 days in a focused fury, reviewing recordings, compiling emails, organizing evidence. I barely slept. My team was outraged when I told them what had happened, each offering to speak up on my behalf, but I asked them to wait. This needed to be airtight. Gia helped me organize everything into an indisputable chronological record. We created a presentation that couldn't be dismissed or explained away. "Are you sure you want to do this publicly?" Gia asked as we finalized everything Thursday night. You could take this directly to HR or Miranda. I shook my head, remembering how HR had suggested Amara might be happier in a different department when she complained. Terry didn't steal my work privately. He did it in front of the entire board. The correction needs to be just as public. Friday evening arrived, and the company gathering was in full swing at La Maison, one of Boston's most exclusive restaurants. The private dining room was filled with my colleagues and company executives, all dressed elegantly and drinking expensive wine as they celebrated Terry's achievement. I arrived wearing my best charcoal gray suit, hair perfectly styled, carrying a small bag containing a portable speaker and my laptop. I smiled and nodded at colleagues, accepted a glass of champagne, and waited. My team sat together at a table near the back, their expressions a mix of anticipation and concern. Ramon gave me a subtle thumbs up. Una mouthed, "We've got your back." Taylor and Devi both nodded encouragingly. Miranda clinked her glass to quiet the room after the main course had been served. "Tonight we celebrate excellence in design and leadership," she began. "Terry Brooks has demonstrated exceptional vision with the Johnson Tower redesign. The board and I are thrilled to announce his promotion to Executive Director of Design Innovation." Applause filled the room as Terry stood, straightening his designer tie with a practiced, modest smile. I could see several female associates exchanging glances, their applause half-hearted at best. "Thank you, Miranda, and thank you all," he said smoothly. "The Johnson Tower represents everything our firm stands for: bold vision, sustainability, and pushing architectural boundaries. I'm honored to lead us into this new era of design excellence." He continued for several minutes, talking about his innovative approach to the double-skin facade, his computer modeling breakthroughs, and his vision for integrated community spaces. With each word, my determination solidified. I wasn't just standing up for myself, I was standing up for every woman whose ideas had been stolen, whose career had been sidelined, whose brilliance had been claimed by someone else. When he finally finished, Miranda asked, "Would anyone else like to say a few words?" It was time for action. "I'd like to offer a toast," I said, rising to my feet as 50 pairs of eyes turned toward me, my voice steady despite my nerves. The room quieted as I made my way to the front, my heart pounding so hard I could feel it in my fingertips. The champagne glass trembled slightly in my hand as I surveyed the room of architects and executives celebrating my boss's genius design, or in reality, my design. Terry's smile faltered slightly, but he nodded graciously, clearly expecting some forced congratulatory remarks from his team member. "To innovation," I continued, "to vision, and to honesty in our professional relationships." There was a lot of clapping, and as it died down, I unexpectedly set down my glass and reached into my bag. The same bag that held months of recorded evidence of his systematic theft of my work. My boss's Adam's apple bobbed nervously as I pulled out a small speaker. Before we continue celebrating, I thought it might be nice to revisit the journey of the Johnson Tower design and how it actually evolved. I've prepared a brief audio presentation. My finger hovered over the play button. In that suspended moment, I saw the last 7 years of my career flash before me. The 3 a.m. work sessions, the missed holidays, the condescension, the stolen credit. I locked eyes with Terry, and his face drained of all color as he suddenly realized that whatever came out of that speaker was going to be really bad news for him. I thought to myself, this ends tonight. Panic in his eyes, Terry tried to move forward, but it was too late. Before he or anyone else could object, I pressed play. Terry's voice filled the room. "Samantha, I don't understand this facade system you're proposing. Walk me through it again." My voice responded, explaining the technical aspects in detail. "And you're sure this will work?" "The energy savings seem too good to be true," he said on the recording. "I've triple-checked the calculations. The computer modeling confirms a 62% reduction in energy consumption compared to conventional systems," my recorded voice explained confidently. I watched Terry's face. His eyes darted around the room nervously, trying to figure out how to explain this away. He started to stand, but Miranda raised her hand slightly, signaling him to remain seated. Her eyes had narrowed to laser focus. I played 4 more brief excerpts, each showing the same pattern. Terry questioning my design elements, me explaining them in detail, and him gradually coming to understand concepts he had presented as his own original thinking at the board meeting. The final recording was the most damning. Terry, just 2 days before the board presentation, Samantha, this is exactly what we need. Can you send me all your notes on the community space integration? I want to make sure I fully understand your approach before the presentation. When I finally stopped the playback, the room was completely silent. Every eye moved between me, Terry, and Miranda. I could feel everyone holding their breath. I have dozens more recordings, I said calmly. Every meeting, every discussion, all documented. I also have all the original design files with metadata showing when they were created and by whom. The Johnson Tower redesign is my work, my innovation, my vision. Terry had gone from pale to flushed with anger. This is ridiculous. Recording conversations without consent is... Actually, I interrupted. I announced I was recording at the beginning of every meeting. You acknowledged it each time. Would you like me to play those clips as well? A few nervous laughs rippled through the room. I saw Ramon stifle a grin. Miranda stood up, her expression unreadable. Terry, Samantha, I'd like to see both of you in the private dining room, now. As we followed her out, I caught the eye of Jennifer from HR, who was already pulling out her phone and stepping into a corner to make a call. I also noticed Sophia and Amara, whom I'd invited as my guests, sitting together at a small table near the back. Sophia gave me a small nod of approval, her eyes bright with vindication. In the smaller dining room, Miranda closed the door and turned to face us. Explain, she said simply, looking at Terry. Miranda, this is a misunderstanding, he began, his confident tone returning. Of course, Samantha contributed technical elements to the project. I never claimed otherwise. But the overarching vision, the integration of systems, that was my direction as department head. That's not what I heard on those recordings, Miranda replied, her voice ice cold. She turned to me. How much more evidence do you have? Every meeting for 4 months, I said, plus emails, original design files, and my project notes with timestamps that align perfectly with the recordings. I pulled out my phone, opened a secure folder, and showed her the organized evidence. I also have statements from 5 former employees who experienced similar situations with Terry, dating back 7 years. Miranda was silent for a long moment. Then she pulled out her phone and sent a text. Terry, wait here. Security will escort you to clear your office. Your employment is terminated, effective immediately. Terry's face contorted with rage. You can't be serious. Over some out-of-context recordings? I've been with this firm for 15 years. And in 15 minutes, you've destroyed your credibility completely, Miranda snapped. This isn't just about taking credit. You deliberately misled the board and me about who created the work that earned you a promotion. That's grounds for immediate termination. Let me put it more clearly, Terry. You are fired. Get out. Security appeared at the door with remarkable speed. Terry looked like he might argue further, but something in Miranda's expression stopped him. He straightened his tie one last time and walked out without looking at me. When the door closed, Miranda sank into a chair, suddenly looking tired. I owe you an apology, Samantha, she said quietly. I should have seen this. You weren't the only one he fooled, I replied, my voice softer now that the confrontation was over. The adrenaline that had propelled me through the evening was beginning to ebb, leaving me feeling drained but oddly peaceful. No, but I'm the CEO, she countered. And this isn't the first time, is it? Sophia and Amara, they left because of similar situations? I nodded slowly. I believe so. They never had proof like this, though. Smart of you to record everything, she said, with what sounded like genuine admiration. I wouldn't have thought of that. I learned from watching others, I said simply. Miranda rubbed her temples. I need to see all your evidence, and I need to contact the board immediately. Of course, I said, sending her the secure folder link. She looked up at me with those penetrating gray eyes. The Johnson Tower is your design. You'll present the revised plans to the board on Monday, and the executive director position. It should go to someone with both vision and integrity. My heart skipped a beat. Are you offering me Terry's position? No, she said firmly. I'm offering you a better one. Executive Vice President of Design and Innovation. Terry was being promoted to director. You've earned more than that. The next Monday morning, I stood before the board again, this time at the head of the table rather than the far end. As I presented the updated Johnson Tower designs, I noticed Miranda watching me with something like pride. The Johnson Tower broke ground 3 months later. My name is on the cornerstone as lead architect, and the project has already won 2 sustainability awards in the pre-construction phase. The double-skin facade system I designed is being adapted for 3 other major urban renewal projects across the country. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I hadn't started recording those meetings. If I had let Terry take my work like he'd done to others before me, I probably would have left the firm eventually, my confidence eroded, my innovations credited to someone else. Instead, I'm reviewing portfolios for my growing department, with a special focus on promising female architects who shouldn't have to fight as hard as I did for recognition. Sophia has returned to the firm under my leadership, and Amara is consulting on our new museum project. Last week, I received an email from Lin Wei, another of Terry's victims, congratulating me on the Johnson Tower groundbreaking. "I heard what you did," she wrote. "For years I felt like I'd failed by leaving instead of fighting. Thank you for showing it wasn't too late for justice. I still record important meetings. Old habits die hard. But now everyone knows it. And surprisingly, it's led to more honest, direct communication throughout the firm." Miranda implemented a new attribution policy ensuring everyone's contributions are properly acknowledged in all projects. Terry now works at a smaller firm across town. I hear he's very careful about giving credit to his team members these days. Sometimes the best lessons are the painful ones. As for me, I learned that being thorough isn't just about triple-checking measurements or calculations. It's about protecting your work, your ideas, and standing up for yourself when necessary. The architect in me knows that the strongest structures are built on honest foundations. The same is true for careers. And the next time someone tries to build their success on someone else's innovation, well, let's just say I hope they check for recording devices first. Anyway, thanks for listening. Let me know what you think.